This is Brandon from Watches on You. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very special watch. This is the Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine. Ulysse Nardin has kind of been underrepresented on our channel, as I think the only one we've done is the Tellurium, which was a very, very high-end piece. This is a more affordable piece and a more utilitarian piece. So let's drop down to the inspection pad and we can take a closer look at this watch. Alright, so let's take a closer look at the Maxi Marine. So, right off the bat, I'm going to let you know that this is available pre-owned here at JB Hudson Jewelers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, if you want to, I would highly encourage you to take a look at this piece and their wide selection of pre-owned watches. So, right off the bat, I'm going to start off by going over the case of this watch. Now, the finishing on this case is absolutely superb. I'm extremely impressed with it. Just everything from the contrast between the brushed and polished surfaces is absolutely fantastic. The dial has a brilliant texture on it. It looks really, really cool. And different versions of this watch have different patterns on the dial. One has like a wavy pattern, and then this watch actually has a wave pattern on the bezel. And again, it just makes it kind of a unique watch, especially given that it doesn't really look at like any other watch. So, moving on to actually the features of this watch. So what you have on this is now it has an ETA-based movement, but Ulysse Nardin, it's kind of like what Breitling does, where they finish it up to their standards. And this watch it's not your basic ETA 2824. It has some pretty unique features. So it has a subdial seconds and then a power reserve indicator. Now, I must say, just kind of going off the power reserve indicator there, the winding on this watch is absolutely like superb. It's one of the best sort of sensations. Actually, to be honest, I couldn't tell that I was actually winding it. I had to put my ear up to it to tell. It's so quiet and smooth. It just feels like you're turning the crown on like a quartz watch. It doesn't feel normal. It's just so smooth and wonderful, and I really actually like it. It's a very nice feeling. It's not like unresponsive, but it feels very nice. So, moving on to another very interesting aspect of this watch, the crystal. Now, as you can see, the date here, so the date's at 6 o'clock on this watch, but it has a sort of zoom function like a Submariner does, but, well, it's a Cyclops on the Submariner. I don't really know what to call this because it's not actually a traditional Cyclops. It's not like on an AP diver where it's in the dial itself. It's actually underneath the crystal of the watch, but it's not, I mean, a Submariner, obviously, if you guys like watches, you know that it's on top of the dial, but this watch has it, like, it's on the underside of the crystal, and I kind of like that. It gives it a really unique look when you're just kind of moving around the watch and everything, and also it's not going to get like knocked off or chipped because it's not on the top of the dial. So I really like how they did that. One complaint that I'd have about the dial of this watch is that the subdial seconds, I would prefer a center seconds, just because that seems more in keeping with dive watch sort of functionality. But overall, I think that the complications on this watch help to make it a pretty unique player in the world of dive watches. And it's definitely a functional dive watch with a 300-meter depth rating. So, moving on to the overall, actually one feature I'd like to mention that I didn't mention is that it has a 48-hour power reserve. Now, that is, in my opinion, it's like the perfect amount. 2 days. I mean, you can go a day without wearing it if you don't have a watch winder. It's just awesome. A lot of brands have like 45, and it's kind of disappointing because with 3 more hours, they could have got to the 2-day mark, and that just seems like a nicer place to be. So, let's move on to a wrist shot of this watch. And as you can see, now the 42.7 millimeter case looks a lot bigger in real life than in it just doesn't really look like a 42.7 millimeter case. It looks a lot more like a 45 millimeter case, or maybe even larger, but it's still not totally oversized like some IWC divers. It feels, I mean, pretty normal on the wrist. It's not too big, but it's a little, actually I'd say a little too big. I'm a big fan of 40 millimeter for dive watch. I think like the Submariner, it's perfect. So, actually, moving on to the braceleted swatch. The bracelet is very unique. It's very thick, solid end links, beautifully put together. Contrast between the brushed and polished surfaces, it's awesome. And then the clasp is very high quality. It's like an Omega Seamaster clasp, which we've praised before. Same kind of construction where you have the little push buttons to open the clasp. It looks awesome, beautifully finished. Got the Ulysse Nardin logo on the front of it there. And it's got the separate design where you have kind of the prongs inside of it, and it's just beautifully put together. Now, if you purchase this watch at JB Hudson here, it also comes with this very nice rubber strap, very thick, beautiful rubber strap with a double deployant clasp, very high quality. It's very similar in construction to the normal clasp on the steel bracelet. So, if you like this video, please remember to subscribe and share. I'll leave some links in the description if you want to learn more about this watch. Thank you.